Welcome to a special edition of the Deal Doctor live stream. Today, Eric and I are going to talk a little bit about being a sub-agent to the seller and when that should happen and when it doesn't happen. Eric, what's the one question that we get quite often?
Well, when do I check the box sub-agency?
Like a purchase agreement?
On a purchase agreement or an agency disclosure form? Anywhere. It seems to come up quite often that agents, for some reason, want to check a box that says or refers to sub-agency.
Would you find that most often a situation where it's a listing agent who thinks that they have to check that box in order to collect the brokerage commission that's being offered to a sub-agent? Is that part of what happens here?
We see that quite often, yes.
And what's wrong with doing that?
Well, one, the listing agent truly only represents the listing or the seller. A buyer's agent truly will only represent a buyer. Five Star Real Estate is a designated agency. So it's not a traditional agency, but we have a designated agency, meaning that both listing agents and buyer's agents must be designated to represent their individual client.
So if I'm a listing agent and I mark on my listing contract, even though it's not advertised on the broadcast on the MLS anymore, I say that I'm going to offer X% as a commission to a buyer broker or to a sub-agent, which, again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the designated agency thing, but let's just focus on that little thing that we fill out on the listing contract. Do some agents think that because there's something being offered through to a buyer's agent, somebody who's working with a buyer, even if that buyer is unrepresented, they have to identify themselves as a sub-agent in order to collect that commission that's being offered?
Yes, and they don't.
Why?
Here's the great thing. If there is an unrepresented buyer and you're offering a 3% commission to a buyer agent, the offer isn't being collected. Therefore, as a listing agent, you are entitled to that commission.
So what you're saying is you're going to actually collect the X%, whether it's 4, 5, 6, 7%, whatever it might be, that you've indicated on the top line of the listing contract by simply being the seller's agent.
Yes, and remaining the seller's agent.
Which is probably, and if I'm guessing, probably a better, safer position to be in, because then there's no mistake, no misunderstanding about who you're representing.
That'd be correct.
What are some of the dangers of talking about sub-agency? I think you touched on it in the designated agency question. 5 Star is a designated agency realtor by policy. So what happens if we offer, as listing agents, we offer a fee to a sub-agent from another company? What danger does that present? Is there a risk?
Well, one, we're not allowed to. We practice designated agency. But if there is a risk where we allow another listing brokerage to oversee the actual listing, you now could have a conflict where you actually have two brokers representing the seller or this listing. And that could be a danger, because what if your seller or the listing client decides to not listen to you anymore and they decide to listen and get information from another agent? It could lead just to some major conflicts of interest.
Let's also take the example of an agent from, well, I'll say Coldwell Banker, goes out and shows your listing, and they begin as a sub-agent. They're positioning themselves as a sub-agent. They go out and show your listing, and they describe features, particulars about the house incorrectly. Who does that put in the line of fire in terms of potential liability later? The listing agent. That's one of the big reasons that 5 Star is a designated agency company, and that's why we should try to avoid co-brokerage offering, because it puts 5 Star and you in the line of fire if anything goes wrong with some other agent out there who's operating under sub-agency. I hope that helps. A little bit of information on Subagency. If you have additional questions, call the broker support line at 616-490-0902. Thanks for stopping by.